Alright, Ben Davison has posted a few pictures on his social medias, and he's showing that Billy Joe Saunders, and Billy Joe Saunders himself has made a video showing that he's back in training camp. So he's officially on the comeback trail, so to speak. Now, he's confirmed that he is planning to return around about December time. He hasn't announced any promoter yet, right? Like who it's going to be with, but one would imagine it's going to be Eddie Hearn. Now, I say that because, well, obviously Billy Joe had a very good relationship with his former promoter, Frank Warren. Warren turned him pro back in 2008, I think it was. Don't quote me, I think it was 2008. And obviously Warren got him with WBO, got him #1 ranked with WBO at middleweight when he fought Andy Lee. And I think he had him, WBO I think had him mandatory at 168 or something like that. So that's why he was able to fight for the vacant title. And they gave it to him, they basically gave it to him against an absolute nobody who no one's heard of before or since, something Asufi. So Frank Warren done a lot of good for him. They seem to depart on good terms. The only thing is, though, if you are looking to make a comeback at light heavy or 168 pounds, Frank Warren really doesn't have that many. I think at 168 all he has is Zach Parker, I think. And at light heavy you've got Anthony Yard. And Billy Joe Saunders is saying like he's coming back in December and it's going to be at light heavy with the goal to get back down to 168. Eddie Hearn, on the other hand, he's got 175 pounders and 168 pounders. Diego Pachillo, I remember the name, I won't forget it. I do know he's a very, very talented young man. Just sometimes the name just slips my mind. Obviously he's got Berlanga, 175. He's got Smith, I know he's fighting Beterbiev, but he's got Callum Smith. Obviously Dimitri Bivol, etc., etc. So he has a much more wide stable there. Now, for me, this Billy Joe comeback is really only for money. And that's all as far as I'm concerned, this Billy Joe comeback is purely for money. The idea that this guy, how old is he now? He's got to be he's got to be in his mid-30s now. 33, 34, thereabouts. He's got to be around that. The idea that this guy, who never lived the cleanest life in general, you know, you look at him when he fought Andy Lee. I think even before he fought Andy Lee, he fought Eubank in 2014 in November time. That was on the undercard of Chisora Fury 2. And then he fought in the summer and he looked way out of shape. Then he fought Andy Lee in December 2015. He didn't fight again for another year, during which time he could have fought on one of Canelo's undercards in Texas, but he was out of shape, couldn't make the weight. And then, you know, he had that fight against Akabov in a leisure centre and he looked terrible. That was the first time he was ever trained by Ben Davison. I think it was Ben Davison's first real fight training a professional, or at least a well-known professional. We didn't know who he was at the time. And Billy Joe, he's a history of it. He lost to Canelo 2.5 years ago almost. And seeing pictures of him even as far back as last year, looking way out of shape, looking absolutely huge, even by his standards, and he is someone who will blow up in between fights, but even by his standards he was looking huge. The idea that this guy, and look, God only knows what he's been doing in the immediate time. Because yeah, he's been known to eat, you know, junk food, balloon up in weight, drink alcohol, amongst other things. He's probably done that for the last 2 years non-stop. Well, maybe not non-stop, but a lot. More than normal. God only knows what shape his body is going to be in. He could stand on the scales in December and look aesthetically, I doubt it, but he could look aesthetically amazing. But god damn how much wear and tear has got on that body. Not just from the training camps, just from life in general. Yeah, I can't see this comeback being anything more than a money grab. You know, obviously Billy Joe got well paid against Canelo. He made a couple of mil. I think he made about 6 or 7 mil, maybe a bit more. So he's definitely not short of a few quid, but at the end of the day, it never hurts to, you know, top the funds up. And to me, that's all it's going to be. Will Eddie Hearn, I'm assuming he's going to sign with Eddie Hearn, I would imagine. I just couldn't envision him going and signing with Warren for what, really? You know, Zach Parker, really? Zach Parker at 168, is that the goal? Or what was the other guy? Anthony Yard. Anthony Yard would bring a bit of money, all right, but, you know, Billy Joe, Dominic Ingle even said about Billy Joe, 154 pounder really, if you strip him back. But he's just too lazy to do that, so he did 160, and now he's doing 168. Well, now he's doing 175. Jesus Christ, that's going to be interesting. So that's the whole situation. Billy Joe Saunders looking to make a comeback. For me, this, as I said in the title of this video, I've said several times, it's all about money. He is looking to probably have a comeback fight, see how he is, see how far he slid, I'd imagine very, and then probably look and try and get the biggest fight out there. Whether that would be, you know, Eddie Hearn trying to get, if the Conor Benn fight doesn't happen, if Conor Benn ends up, if UCAT appeal, Conor Benn, and he ends up getting suspended, banned indefinitely for God knows how long, then maybe that's an option that Eddie Hearn would look to do. He'd be like, okay, look, I can't get Ben Eubank. I wanted that, but I can get, and obviously Eubank isn't with Boxer. You know, he fights on Sky, but he's not promoted by Ben Shalom, thank God. That's one of the very good things Eubank Jr. has done. He's not promoted by Ben Shalom, he's promoted by Wasserman, but he has a deal to fight on Sky. That's why all of his fights, I think they've all been on Sky over the last few years. But obviously the Eubank Ben fight, which was meant to take place last year, was going to be on the Zone. So I'm sure that Wasserman, a very good deal with Eddie Hearn, very close with Eddie Hearn, they'd have no problem doing Eubank versus Saunders too. And at this point right now, I would make Chris Eubank, I'd put everything on Eubank winning that fight. 110%. I'd be picking Eubank Jr. He might even stop Billy Joe, depending on how bad Billy Joe really is looking. Seriously, he might even stop him. And that might be the biggest money fight that Billy Joe can get. Yeah, you could fight Diego Pacheco. Would you make that kind of money? Because I'd say the Zone would love to do that fight. They'd obviously love to do Eubank Ben, but they'd love to do that because they probably could just squeak getting away with it on pay-per-view, depending on how Billy Joe is looking. There's definitely beef there. Certainly a lot of beef there. It's been going back years, nearly 10 years. And actually, if they do it next year, it'll basically be 10 years since the first fight. So that would make sense. And for Eubank, I'd say he'd be delighted. It'd be like, right, I can never get the George Groves win back. That's gone. But I've got the Liam Smith win back, and I could get the Billy Joe win back. That will do. That might do. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. For now, lads and lassies, I will leave you with that. Peace.